Was Angel?
Yeah.
Which, ironically enough, Laurie Strode ends up being Angel Myers in the remake.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In the original one, she was Cynthia Myers. Did you know that, Deborah?
No.
You didn't know that she was Michael's sister?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, she was Cynthia Myers in the original. And anyways, so he goes to kill Angel in part 2. And this is something you would never hear in a movie now. Like, the neighbor screams as she goes out there. What was her name? Like Miss Engel? Or Miss...
Yeah. Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then nothing. She's like, Mr. Engel? Nothing. And she gets back on the phone. And she's like, my neighbors are screaming. She's so mean to him. He probably got tired of it and started beating her.
I was like, you can't say that.
And then she's like, who cares? I'm like, whoa. That was savage. That was more savage than any of Michael's kills.
Michael's like, damn, chill.
That's why he killed her. He's like, you can't be saying shit like that.
She offended him?
Wow.
He's like, I'm gonna let you go. You offended me, so I'm out.
Oh shit!
Michael has feels, you know.
She made him mad, and he killed her.
See, the reason a lot of people say that Michael didn't talk because he was so traumatized by his sister's death. Well, he's the one that killed her.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I don't know. It kind of goes into what came first, Halloween or Nightmare? Freddy, not Freddy.
Jason.
Friday the 13th.
I think it was Friday the 13th, I believe. Yeah.
But at that time, it was probably just part 1, which it was the mom that was.
It was the mom. Yeah, it wasn't Jason. Yeah.
So the thing with Michael Myers and with Jason and all that, and it happens in this movie when the nurse with the red belt drives to the hospital. Like, she drives in her car in her Mustang, her badass Mustang.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, Michael's there at the same time. It's like, did Michael drive over there somehow? Was he hanging?
He snapped his fingers.
Well, see,
he's training for a marathon, man.
That's the thing with him and Jason. Do they have teleportation? It's like Drew's probably too young for this, but like
he has wheels on his feet.
Wheels? He had Heelys.
Yeah.
He had Heelys, and he was hooked up on the back of the.
Yep, and he was roller skating.
No, but he's all like Pepe Le Pew, where the female cat skunk is running off fast, and then Pepe Le Pew's like, bring, 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 just all slow, and they get there at the same time.
He was skipping with his hands in the air.
But I know the suspense of disbelief or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know what I did like about this movie?
What's that?
Another thing that I did like about it wasn't a total bust. It wasn't I'm never going to watch this movie again. But when they get to the hospital and the kid had the razor blade in his mouth.
You know, funny as you said that, when me and my mom were rewatching this like months ago, and then I asked my mom, did that really happen, you know, in the 80s? And she's like, you know, that was actually a problem where kids would go to the hospital with razor blades, you know, cuts in their mouth. So I didn't believe it until she said it, obviously.
Here's the thing, though. It did happen, but before it happened, and it's something you'll see now online, and it's like some sick, twisted mind decides to put out there, hey, kids need to be careful because people are putting razor blades in their apples. So I'm going to make a fake story and make a meme that says, be careful, some kid from South Dakota got a razor blade in his apple. And it never really happens, but somebody thinks about it. And then after people share it all over the place, and then some sick, twisted... Are we cussing in this? We're talking about horror, right?
Yeah.
So some sick, twisted fuck's like, let me really put a razor in an apple. And then it happens. You know,
it's like that one video, I forgot what that creature that they put in the kids' YouTube.
Oh, the Momo.
Yeah.
The Mumu or...
Oh, yeah. Not that scary, but yeah.
And then that went viral, and everybody came out on the news.
And then everybody's like, watch your kids because it's going to make them kill them. No, it was a prank.
You should try Tide Pods. Oh, wait.
No, but I remember I remember at school where they had the mimeographed, which is before Xerox machines. Things that they gave us before Halloween. Your parents have to check all your candies and your apples because drug users are hiding razors and drugs and glass in the candy.
That's crazy.
Because, drug users have nothing better to do than give away their expensive drugs.
And only eat the candy that were wrapped.
Yeah, and only eat the candies that were wrapped, with all the sugar and diabetes and all that.
Don't eat open.
That's wild. I mean, I actually didn't know about that, but wow.
We completely got off the topic of Halloween, too.
We're still talking about Halloween, just not the movie.
Technically.
There was a scene. It was the first kill when Alice got killed.
Yeah.
That Deborah jumped and screamed.
It was two parts, and I jumped and screamed.
Yeah.
It was a jump scare, and I looked at her like, "What the fuck, Deborah?"
Okay, because I was talking, because it was right after the part where she's like, "Oh, he's probably beating her," and I'm like, "You can't say that. You're gonna offend people. You can't say that nowadays." And then he jumps up and
and she jumped and she yelled,
and I covered my face.
And we keep it like 65 degrees at our place as much as possible, right? So we have blankets and all that. It's like, it's hot. Let's put on the air condition. And then we make it so cold that we want blankets to make it. Well, just make the house warmer. But anyways, so she pulls the blanket up over her face. I'm like, Deborah, you're really scared over a movie from the early 80s.
And then the other part where I yelled is when they were like, he's right there, and they were chasing him, and he crosses the street, and then the cop hits him, and
oh, so did you know this, Drew? The cop that runs into it was Ben, what was his name?
It was Laurie Strode's crush, right?
Bennett Tramer.
Yeah.
That guy that was the cop that hit him, that ran into him, was the actor that actually played Michael Myers.
Oh, I did not know that.
So the funny thing is, the only person killed in the movie by someone other than Michael Myers was killed by the actor that played Michael Myers.
That's actually wild. I did not know that. Holy crap, yeah.
And then there's another scene when Laurie picks up the phone, and after, what's wrong with the phone? They're like, oh, nothing's wrong. Don't worry about it. And then she picks up the phone, puts it to her face. She's like, hello. And then she's looking at the phone with, the earpiece and the mouthpiece facing her. And right at the same time, Deborah goes, Freddy's tongue's going to pop out. But right as she's saying that, I'm going, la, 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 like that. Just,
and we both started laughing.
That wouldn't have happened back then because people wouldn't have seen it at that time. But yeah. I mean, now we that's what we see now. Another thing that I thought was pretty cool was the guy carrying the 40-pound boombox on his shoulder, listening to the news.
He was walking back and forth. He crossed the street and then he crossed back.
Well, in all the movies back then,
Michael.
Yes, he bumped into. See, that's something else that I didn't. I guess I can't say I didn't like the movie because there's all these points that are sticking with me. So I guess it did its job. But Michael was very selective sometimes with who he didn't kill. And then other times he was like, I'm killing everybody.
Oh, what about the time when he killed the nurse in the water? But first he put his hand on her shoulder. He was all...
And she started licking his thumb.
I was like, Michael! What are you doing?
See, that's why I'm asking, is he a zombie? Is he not a zombie? And then another thing that pissed me off, and I'm thinking way too realistic. The water that he burned her face off with was 130 degrees, right?
I mean, yeah.
That sounds like if you're out in the desert and it's 130 degrees, that's horrible. But I have a pillow for the winter that goes up to 120 degrees. Your human body is 98.7, is almost 100 degrees. And when she tells the guy, something Rossi, the actor, she tells him, it's too hot in here, blah, blah. It was at 100 degrees. It was literally 3 degrees more than your body. I know I'm looking too serious into it.
No, but I like that though. Like, at some point, I mean, even how I watch movies now, I like watching movies based on, I guess, the realism. If you fall off that building, your legs will be broken, something like that. But you're perfectly fine.
Well, for me, I need a movie that's super realistic and horror like filled, or like so unrealistic that it's campy. And I don't like when they do both.
Oh yeah.
I either want it super realistic and straight horror, or
super cheesy.
Or super cheesy, but still being like gore horror. Gorer, And that's what Freddy was for me. That's what Jason was for me. And Halloween 1 was very realistic for me. And then this one, it went too much both ways for me. That I think that's why I didn't like it as much.
Like in the first one, it was Michael was more of like, I guess you could say, like, chill with his kills. I guess you could say, like, he was more silent, and not much graphic. But in this one, the second one, the first kill is, there's much more gore than the first one.
Well, that's something. If you go back and watch the first one, there is not much, if any, blood in the movie.
Yeah.
And it leaves it up to your mind. Your mind is always going to be worse.
That's what I was going to say. I think the first one was scary because all you knew about Michael Myers was that he escaped from
Haddonfield,
from the hospital. So you're thinking he's a regular guy. Well, not a regular guy, but he's a human, and he's killing people.
Yeah, but I mean, and then she shoots him. She's a 17-year-old kid in they're in Illinois or something like that. Yeah, right?
Yes, Haddonfield, Illinois.
And they're in the suburbs, so there's nobody's walking around with like a gun rack in their truck or anything like that.
Yeah.
And she shoots him in both of his eyes from the floor while petrified.
Bro, she's good. I mean, what?
She wasn't even aiming. She John Wicked his eyes.
She did it with her brain. Just thinking.
And then he's just swinging wildly. And then, now I did like earlier in the movie when the cop lights his cigarette, and he lights his cigarette, then he goes to light Loomis's cigarette, and Loomis doesn't have a cigarette, and he kind of looks at him like, what are you doing? And then he lights his lighter again like 2 or 3 times. It's a lighter. Look, I'm handing you this lighter. And he gives him the yellow lighter. And at the end of the movie, they open up all the oxygen tanks, and Loomis reaches into his pocket and pulls out a yellow lighter. This is at a time in the 80s when everybody was smoking, when you can go into McDonald's and they had little aluminum ashtrays in McDonald's. So there was no reason to have to show, it's just normal for everybody to have a lighter. But the writing was good enough to ahead of time set up, this is why he has the lighter.
Well, also in the part where it scared me, I started thinking Michael Myers was probably like squatting down, and then he saw her and he jumped. Like
he just walked around the house.
He's just squatting down waiting for her.
So you're saying he was Call of Duty squatting?
Yes.
There you go. He was camping. He was creeping.
Yeah, you know how the cats, they jump to scare you, and they jump.
Then
and
he pounced up more,
and he went boo. But you didn't hear him.
He was self.
Well, see, let me ask you, Drew. This goes back into the realism, going campy into it or not, and him being a zombie or not. At the end of the movie, when he flattened everybody's tires and disabled all their cars, he's that lucid, he's that normal and smart to do that. But like when he walks into the glass doors at the end, he just walks into it head first, breaks the glass.
Yeah.
And then when he walks into the swinging doors, when they blow up where the oxygen tanks are, he just kind of like belly bumps it. And, is he smart? Is he meticulous? Or is he an unstoppable, unthinking, unfeeling force?
I think he's just unstoppable.